Hi, my name is Eric Kimberling. I'm the CEO and founder of Third Stage Consulting Group, which is an independent ERP consulting firm. And what I wanted to do today is talk a little bit about the top ERP systems as you prepare for your digital transformation in 2019. So, this is the time of year where a lot of our clients are coming to us asking for help in guiding their digital transformation initiatives, planning for 2019. And part of that digital strategy that clients are asking us for is helping them define what is the right ERP system or systems to help them through the digital transformation journey. So clients often ask, what's your favorite ERP system? What are the best ERP systems out there? And I'm not a huge fan of top 10 lists or top 5 lists, but just for the sake of fun, we thought we'd put out what we think are the top 5 ERP systems in the marketplace based on a number of different criteria. One is market share. We also look at ease of implementation, average implementation, time and cost, the ability to scale, ability to provide flexibility for the software, and a number of other different factors that we look at based on our experience with clients as well as our research over the years. And we kind of narrowed the list. As hard as it was, we narrowed the list down to 5 systems that we think are the top systems leading into 2019. Now, a caveat to this, 2 caveats really. One is Third Stage is independence. We're technology agnostic. We have no biases. We have no financial ties to any of these software vendors that we're going to talk about, nor do we have any software ties to any other ERP systems in the marketplace. The second caveat is that every list for every company is going to look different. So this is a broad generalization. What some may say should be at the top of my list for one client may be nowhere on another client's radar, and vice versa. So every client situation is unique, but at the same time, it's also helpful to look and see what some of the trends are. So we'll kind of go through the top 5. And the first one at number 5 is Salesforce. And a few years ago, I would have never really considered Salesforce as a top ERP system. I might have considered it a top 2 or 3 CRM system. But what Salesforce has done that, in my opinion, lands it in the top 5 among ERP vendors or systems is they've built an ecosystem around the CRM platform. So they've got Financial Force, they've got other third-party applications that fill in a lot of the gaps that Salesforce traditionally didn't provide with their core CRM offering. Add on top of that the fact that Salesforce has just a huge market presence and penetration in the marketplace, especially with mid-sized organizations and even a lot of larger organizations too, and that's enough to kind of consider it or be considered among a serious contender for some of the ERP systems you may be looking at for your digital transformation initiatives. And I know I posted a blog on this top 5 just a couple days before recording this video. And there's a lot of controversy or comments about, is Salesforce really an ERP system or not? And I'm with you. There's a gray area there, but given what we just talked about and some of the ecosystem and third-party apps that tie together into the Salesforce ecosystem, we feel like it is something that makes it a viable contender for an ERP system, not just a CRM system. So similarly, with Salesforce is another cloud-based platform, which is Workday. So that's the number 4 on our list. And again, like Salesforce, Workday has historically or came up through the ranks focused on one area, in this case HCM systems, or human capital management. But what Workday has done is they've expanded their technology, they've expanded their reach and functionality to now include financials, some inventory management and whatnot. So even though Workday may not be as robust of a system for companies looking for a complete ERP system, it's enough to be more than just an HCM system. And it is enough also to scale for some pretty large organizations that are using Workday, especially on the HCM side and in some cases on the finance and accounting side. So there's a lot of functionality there that they're adding, that they're continuing to add. And when you combine that with their market penetration and their market share and the number of new clients we see migrating to Workday, that includes them in the top of the list as well. One thing to note about both Salesforce and Workday as well, the number 5 and 4 systems in the top 5 here, they're both native cloud applications. So they grew up in the cloud, they were built in the cloud, unlike some of the other ERP systems in the marketplace that are just now trying to catch up and migrate their legacy functionality into the cloud. And by the way, that was one other criteria we used in evaluating the top 5 was the maturity of the cloud solutions. So that did point to or did bode well for Salesforce and Workday, which allowed them both to break into our top 5 ranking here. So the number 3 on our list is NetSuite. So it's the Oracle product that made the top 5. There were people that commented on my blog, LinkedIn posts, social media posts, that maybe EBS or Cloud ERP from Oracle should have been in the top 5 instead. I disagree, simply because NetSuite, for one, has been a legacy cloud application for the last 20 plus years, well before cloud was even a thing or even on anyone's mind. NetSuite was already a cloud solution. So their entire functionality and technology base is already built in the cloud, and it's already been tested and proven, and it's a lot more mature than some of the other ERP systems out there. And not only that, but NetSuite is probably the best known of the true 100% pure cloud solutions that are fully focused on entire ERP. So where Salesforce and Workday are just now expanding into traditional ERP areas, NetSuite has always kind of been an ERP system that includes everything from finance, accounting, distribution, inventory management, all that good stuff. And now even some light manufacturing and other areas that they've historically been weak in, they're continuing to beef up some of those areas. And again, market share is another big thing here. A lot of companies using NetSuite, especially in the small and mid-market. We're even seeing some smaller, big companies, I guess you could call them, that are starting to migrate to NetSuite. So you look at all those things combined, and that's what puts NetSuite in the top 5, and in particular why we put NetSuite above eBusiness Suite or Cloud ERP or some of those legacy Oracle products that are presumably somewhat being phased out and now migrating to EBS is being phased out and Fusion's being phased out, migrating to Cloud ERP. Although I know a lot of people from Oracle would disagree that EBS or Fusion are being phased out anytime soon. The fact of the matter is that Cloud ERP is kind of the flagship product that's being promoted within the Oracle ecosystem. So NetSuite comes in at number 3. And then at number 2, we have SAP HANA, or S4 HANA, I should say. So that's the most recent version of SAP. It's not just a cloud-based version, but they also offer on-prem and kind of a hybrid model for deployments, which is kind of nice. SAP obviously has huge penetration in the Fortune 500, Fortune 1000 organizations. As far as true scale for a massive global complex organization, it's hard to beat or compete with SAP on that front. So SAP really excels in that big market. Now, if you're a smaller mid-sized company looking at the top 5 list, you may say, well, I probably wouldn't put SAP number 2. Maybe I'd put it a little bit lower based on that. And they also have other options in their ecosystem for SAP solutions that are more tailored for the mid-market. But as far as S4 HANA, it may be overkill for you right now based on where you are as an organization. But overall, looking at the overall industry and the scalability of the software and the breadth and robustness of the functionality, there's just a lot there, and a lot of companies are migrating to S4. So what I will say, though, is S4 HANA is a relatively immature cloud solution. So if we're talking about cloud offerings, I look at NetSuite and Workday and NetSuite. In some cases, those are more mature offerings, even though they may not have the breadth of functionality. As far as cloud offerings, some of those systems are more tested and more proven than S4 HANA. Having said that, I think that comment will probably be obsolete in a year or two as more and more big companies migrate to S4 HANA, work out the kinks. S4 HANA continues to be improved over time, etc. So if SAP is a number 1, who is? That's the big question. And this is the first year I would have stated this as a number 1 contender, but Microsoft Dynamics 365 is the one that I would consider kind of top of the list. Again, all things considered equal as a broad generalization. Microsoft D365, in my opinion, has done a really good job of making that transition to the cloud, even though the product's not as mature as in a cloud system offering. But they've done a good job of kind of moving and starting to pull together elements of Exapta, Navision, Great Plains, pulling it together, kind of a best of Microsoft Dynamics, trying to pull that into Dynamics 365. We're seeing a lot of companies, not just in the mid-market, but also large organizations that are deploying D365. And by the way, the Microsoft CRM offering is also very strong too. So we see a lot of companies that are considering Salesforce on the CRM side versus Microsoft CRM, going with Microsoft CRM, and then eventually, deploying the rest of the D365 suite. So a lot of strength there. I think probably the biggest advantage that D365 has compared to some of the other products in the marketplace is just the flexibility of the product. I think that's probably the thing that most puts D365 ahead of SAP and some of the others, is that it's just a very flexible product in terms of the open architecture, the integration, the ability to configure and customize. Having said that, though, that's also a weakness. A lot of times companies get tripped up in the fact that they can be so flexible with the software. So it's somewhat of a double-edged sword. So you combine the maturity of the cloud solution, the breadth of functionality, the fact that it is scaling for large organizations, the flexibility. That's ultimately what puts it at number one overall. One of the other downsides, though, of Microsoft is the ecosystem, the partner channel program. It's very fragmented, and there's almost too many people out there selling the software. So you get a lot of mixed messages, a lot of confusion, even amongst the ecosystem as to what actual functionality is in D365. So that's the top 5. There's a lot of systems, really good systems, by the way, that are not included here. For example, Infor is one you could argue should be in the top 5. Some might argue it should be in the top 3. If you work for Infor, you might say it should be number 1. Very good product, especially if you're looking at manufacturing, distribution, retail. That's a great product. You also have Epicor on the manufacturing side. You have Deltek on the kind of the project costing and defense and aerospace type of project management-based organizations, which is very strong. And a whole host of others I'm not even mentioning that you might argue should be in the top of the list here. So food for thought. I guess the takeaway here is that every company is different, but these are just some of the general trends we're seeing with our client base and some of the research that we've done over the last 10 years, looking at our experience over not just the research over 10 years, but experience over 20 years with over 1,000 different ERP implementations. We kind of consolidated all that information, focusing on what's happening right now in the marketplace to look at which of these systems come out on top when we stack them up side by side. So I hope this information is helpful. You can also read the full blog and the full analysis just by clicking on the link below on my YouTube channel. And speaking of my YouTube channel, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hope you have a great day. Hope you found this helpful, and we'll talk soon. Thanks.